I've got 7 o'clock and it looks like everybody's present, so we'll call the meeting to order. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation of Councilman Kirkpatrick.
Let us pray. Father God, I thank you for today. Please guide us and direct our meeting that we are about to have. Thank you for your sovereignty, and I pray for unification within us all. May we all be sanctified and loved like you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. If you would, Madam Clerk, would you give us a roll call, please?
Benel.
Present.
Gone.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Honeycutt.
Here.
Kirkpatrick.
Yes, ma'am.
Lowry.
Present.
Neal.
Here.
Norris.
Here.
Trigg.
Here.
Witcher.
Here.
All present. You have in front of you the minutes of the special call via remote video council meeting of January the 25th, 2021. You've had time to read over it. If you have any additions or deletions, we'll entertain that now. If not, I'll take a motion to accept them as presented to you.
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Witcher.
Second by Benel.
Councilman Benel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. First item of business is the second reading of ordinance of the City of Glasgow. It's established code of enforcement board. It's a lengthy ordinance. It's exactly like it was read with amendments put in it the first time. You have it in your packet. If you want to have it read, we'll read it. And if you don't, we'll entertain a motion to not read it for the second time. We'll just bring it up and vote on it. But
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion on that day.
I have a motion by Councilman Gauntz. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Norris. Now, is there anybody on the council who just want it read? If you do, we're going to read it. Hearing none, we'll dispense with the reading, and we'll go right into the motion to accept it for the second reading.
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Richard and a second by Councilman Kirkpatrick. Roll call vote to accept this as read, or as presented, rather.
Norris.
Yes.
Trigg.
No.
Witcher.
Yes.
Neal.
No.
No.
Okay. Lowry.
Yes.
Kirkpatrick.
Yes, ma'am.
Benel.
Yes.
Gone.
No, ma'am.
Uncut.
Yes.
Trigg, Gauntz, and Neal voted no.
6-3.
Motion passes. Next item on the business is order of the mayor appointing Mark Lane to the elected plant board of directors.
City of Glasgow Municipal Order Number 2021-blank on order of the mayor, Mark Lane is hereby appointed to the electric plant board of directors. This appointment shall be a 4-year term expiring January 1st, 2025, subject to approval of the Glasgow City Council the 8th day of February 2021. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, Bona Simmons, City Clerk.
To have a motion to appoint Mr. Lane to the board.
Motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Councilman Honeycutt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Richard. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey, Mayor, I got a question.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to table this appointment pending actions to be discussed later on in this meeting concerning the electric plant board.
That's fine. You can vote him in, vote. Y'all won't do it. It's okay to table it.
Well, there's
If you have concerns, why don't you just vote and everything goes, it goes.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if an appointment can be taken.
right. And I realize you have the authority and you are the one that's authorized to appoint members to the board. I've got probably my sidebar concern is that we continue to have board appointments and I don't see minority appointees on the major boards for the city. So in our community, we have a minority populace of a large number of Hispanic Americans, a large number of Asian Americans, and we have African Americans. And this board here and the water board, two of the more powerful boards in the community, seem to, institutional type discrimination. So that's where that's the reason why I'm against making an appointment now. And these boards have impact on a large number of those low-income families and those individuals that I talked about earlier. So that's why I would like to hold off on this, if possible, until we figure out what is going on at the end of this meeting, towards the end of this meeting, as far as the actions that it looks like we're being asked to take on that without adding some more confusion or a new person to the mix.
Okay.
I would agree with Joe from the standpoint of, I don't think it's good business for us to add anybody when we've got a lot of confusion, and I guess we're getting ready to talk about some stuff here shortly. So I think for me personally, it's getting the cart before the horse.
As a point of order, I don't believe that you can make a motion to table once the vote has started. You could have before the vote started, but I know I've already cast a vote. So
Wait, yeah, but
can you rule on that, please? Can you look that up in the Roberts?
What's the question, Wendell?
Can you table a motion after we've already started voting on the motion?
there was never any discussion. And it went straight from he read it to they started voting.
We had a first and a second, and then
And we had a first vote for votes that approved. That was called for too. So I don't think you can table a motion after a vote has started, but maybe you can. Can you look that up, Danny?
Yeah. Wendell, had we already started, or had we just had a first and second, and then we were going to discuss
We
it?
already started voting.
Who voted? Who voted yes or no? You voted before the first and the
Call
second.
for the yes vote. We didn't have a call for the no vote.
Okay, so I thought we were doing discussion after the first and second.
I know. I already cast a vote.
Okay, well, I think in the Roberts rule, you'll find that after a first and a second, that somebody's supposed to call to see if they've got any questions before we start voting.
We
So while
don't.
we're looking up Robert's rules, maybe look that up too.
I know
Okay,
you can, and you can, a motion to table takes precedence over, discussion on the floor, but if there's a first and second, but I don't think, we weren't having a discussion on the floor, we were having a vote.
I don't want to spend a bunch of time if we don't know for sure. It's fine with me, unless there's somebody out there that doesn't want to table it. It's fine with me to proceed if I can get a second to his, if it's legal.
I got a second day to his wanting to table it. That's what you need.
Time to look that up, Wendell.
All right?
If y'all have the time, he's looking it up right now.
Let's just
Are-
go
are
on
we-
to the next business, and we can come back and
To answer your question, Joe, I've asked 2 or 3 of the members of the council if they will submit names that they would be willing to be on some of these boards, the ones that I appoint. And I've had Terry Bennell is getting a list together of one group of business people. And I would be more than happy to have any and all of you submit names, go through the process, because it's not very good when you take somebody and they are willing to serve on the board, and you go talk to them, and they say, yes, I'll serve. This is the third time this has happened on boards that I've appointed. And in the history of the city of Glasgow, it's never happened before, but it's happened 3 times in 2 years. So I want you all to have your say-so, but I'm not going to let you all run the day-to-day affairs that I'm hired to do.
Right.
But if y'all will give me a list of who you think might serve that you would like to see, whether it's a minority or whether it's a business owner, or whether, just remember, it's got to be somebody that's a client of electric plant board if they're residents. They may be in the city limits, but if they're in the city limits and don't have a electric bill through electric plant board, they cannot serve on that board. So think about that before you submit somebody's name and I go talk to them and then find out that they want to and then they're not eligible, because that happens all the time on different boards. They're not really eligible, but they would serve.
Okay, let me respond to where we are with our position here. First off, I tried to find out when I first started in this job whether or not we had ever adopted Robert's Rules of Order. And everybody that has served in the past tells me that we have not. So I don't think, I stopped bringing my Robert's Rules of Order because Rich Alexander and Ben Rogers and different ones that served here had no reference to it ever being adopted as the procedures that we go by. So if you want to use Robert's Rules of Order, we need to put it on the agenda next month or next meeting and adopt it. Now, in the meantime, I've got a book here that is sort of a cookbook for running the city, and it has everything in it that relates to city business, all the laws, all the past cases, all the attorney general opinions, and so forth. And I cannot find anything that would keep us from entertaining Joe's motion to lay it on the table. I will tell you.
Get your book bag out. Okay.
Excuse me.
He didn't have his phone muted. Go ahead, that was Patty.
I will tell you that now that we have the motion and a second, and it's on the floor, it's not debatable, not amendable, and we have to proceed to vote on whether to put it on the table. So now that the motion's there and it's seconded, I think our next step, the only one we can have is to vote on it. And if you put it on the table, that ends it for today. If you don't put it on the table, then we have to discuss it and decide whether you want to put Mark Lane on there tonight or not put him on, which either one, it's up to the council. So that's where we are.
Hey, Danny, I got one last question. I believe if we look in there a little bit farther, it gives us the option to bringing this back off the table, say like at the next meeting, does it?
Well, I think you can bring it back off the table sometime in the future, but as of right now, our next step is to vote on whether we put it on the table or not. And I think that's the only thing we can do at this point because this is not debatable.
Does everybody understand what we're voting on? We're voting on whether to table the vote on Mark Lane or not, and it'll be a roll call vote.
Benel,
No.
Dawn,
Yes.
Kirkpatrick, Kirkpatrick,
Are we tabling it till after the discussion of the EPP tonight?
We're voting to see whether to table it or not. If you vote no, that's
Indefinitely?
table. If you vote yes, that means it will be tabled. She's asking for your vote whether to table it or not.
No.
Richard,
No.
Trigg,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lowry,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Mona. Mona, I couldn't hear you, honey.
so no.
No.
So she wants to ask that you join.
Oh, yeah, Lowry. Morris,
Did you call my name?
Yes.
To be no?
Like Wendell.
yeah. Honeycutt,
No.
Like Thomas.
and
Six no's and 3 yeses.
3 yeses.
No, 3 yeses. The vote to table it failed. Now we have to vote on it, correct?
Yes, but you can discuss it if you want.
If you want to discuss this before we vote on it,
AMD, I would just say that for me, myself, I just think we got too many moving parts to add somebody else to it. That's just my opinion. I would wait until a later date, and I'll be voting no to appoint him for that reason.
thank you.
I think Joe's point is well taken. I think a little bit future thinking on that and names they might have would be helpful. I like that. So good job, Joe.
I agree it's a good idea, but the night of the vote, it's not the right time for me.
Any other discussion? If not, you already had a motion in a second. So we will proceed with a roll call vote whether to accept this director or not.
Neil,
Why did you say Benel?
yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't hear you well. I vote no.
Dawn,
No.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Lowry,
No.
Neil,
No.
Norris,
Yes.
Trigg,
No.
Witcher.
Yes.
5 noes, 4 yeses. The appointment fails. Next item of business is a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a mowing agreement with, well, we'll read it. It's the same one as we had for the last 2 years.
Just 1 second. Want to read the contract too, or just the resolution?
I think just a resolution, the contract hadn't changed.
Okay. City of Glasgow Resolution number 2021-blank, a resolution authorizing the City of Glasgow, Kentucky to enter into a mowing agreement in which Billy Carver will mow all grassland at Glasgow Regional Landfill, including but not limited to the 20 acres of grassland adjacent to the scale house, at his expense in exchange for any hay that he may be able to acquire from said mowings. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Number one, that land owned by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky that has been mowed and taken care of by Billy Carver requires mowing at least once or twice per year, and it's expensive to keep equipment and use employees to mow it, and also expensive to hire someone to mow the property. Billy Carver has the equipment necessary to mow the land and remove the hay therefrom, and an agreement for him to mow it at his expense with him receiving any hay he can produce therefrom has been negotiated and attached as Exhibit A, subject to approval of the Glasgow City Council. Be approved, resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that Harold Armstrong, Mayor of the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute the attached agreement on behalf of the City of Glasgow to secure the mowing of the Glasgow land near the landfill. So adopted this 8th day of February, 2021. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, attest Mona Simmons, City Clerk. And a copy of that agreement is attached, and it's the same one that we used last year.
Having heard the resolution, do I have a motion to accept?
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Neal. Second,
Witcher.
I got a question. Hey, it's not, first of all, it's not my intent to make these meetings longer, but 2 years ago, I believe, or last year, when we got ready to initially approve Mr. Carver, there was an issue, and Mayor, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. We speak to it. You can just answer my question, then I'll be good to go. I'm gonna vote for him, but you know, there was another individual that was mowing half of the dump, and then he was gonna mow just the 20 acres. So did something change, or was he the only one
the other one
interested in mowing?
said he didn't want to do it anymore.
All right.
He still works at the landfill, but he don't want to take his tractor forward any longer. Matter of fact, last year, gave his contract to Mr. Carter. So there was no discrepancy. He's the only one that was wanting to do it. Any other?
Mayor Armstrong, I have a question on the Exhibit A, the mowing agreement. Could we add on Section 6 of that Exhibit A, where it talks about the secured party shall approve he has liability insurance? Can we add to that and name the city as an insurable interest?
We have that on file, but I'll have an updated copy for this year.
I think that would be a prudent move for the city to make sure we're named on his policy.
I'll ask you to bring a copy of his declaration page in and put it in his file.
Please.
Any other questions? All those that approve this resolution as read, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Resolution passes. Next item, resolution authorizing April Russell, the Director of Office of Landfill for ASAP, which is allied. This is to go to the Glasgow Police Department on the street needs.
City of Glasgow Resolution number 2021-, a resolution authorizing and directing April Russell, Office of Landfill Site, to apply for a grant from ASAP, which stands for Substance Abuse Prevention, to fund Glasgow Police Department street crimes needs. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow as follows. Number one, that April Russell, Director of the Office of Grant Oversight, hereby is authorized and directed to make application on the city's behalf for a grant in the amount of $2 ASAP allies for substance abuse prevention to be be used by the Glasgow Police Department for street crimes needs. This is a non-matching grant. Be it further resolved, the City of Glasgow, that Harold Armstrong, Mayor of the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary in order to make application for said grant. So adopted this 8th day of February 2021. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, attest, Mona Simmons, City Clerk.
Having heard this resolution, can I get a motion to accept as read?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Norris. Do I have a second?
Second by Benel.
Second by Councilman Donnell. All those approved signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Resolution passes. The next item is resolution expressing the council stance on Glasgow Electric Plant Board's current state of affairs, and that was proposed by Councilman Benel. You have that in your packet. And if I could I get a motion to accept that resolution?
Let me read.
For acceptance of the resolution.
I would like the resolution to be read.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please read it.
Glasgow Resolution number 2021-blank. A resolution expressing council's stance on Glasgow Electric Plant Board current state of affairs. Be it resolved by the Glasgow Common Council, hereinafter council, as follows. 1. For the reasons set forth below, the council hereby expresses its profound objection and disappointment in the current state of affairs existing within the Glasgow Electric Plant Board, hereinafter EPB, and the illogical and detrimental decisions made by the EPB Board as it relates to the Tennessee Valley Authority, hereinafter TVA. Number 2, the council hereby calls upon Mayor Harold Armstrong, hereinafter Mayor, to immediately exercise all executive influence and power necessary in order to rectify the lack of sound management that persists among the EPB Board. The council is quite aware that the operation of the EPB Board, the EPB, is governed largely by the Little TVA Act, but nevertheless, the council is equally aware that the mayor, as appointing authority for the individual EP board members and for the good of the citizens of Glasgow, should and must take decisive action to do what he can to resolve the mismanagement and derisive environment that currently exists at the EPB board level. Number 3, due to various calls and comments made by the EPB customers as well as Glasgow citizens at large, the council, as duly elected representatives for the citizens of Glasgow, do hereby state the following to be cause for this resolution to wit. The future economic development of the city relies upon a mutual partnership with the TVA. The ability of economic growth would be greatly harmed by the departure of EPB from the long-term agreement executed by EPB on November 27, 2019. Should EPB cease its 20-year power supply contract with TVA, various incentives would disappear for the customers of EPB, causing a financial injury. Since the inception of EPB, its board has entered into several 20-year power supply contracts from TVA, which allowed for fair and equitable utility rates and various financial incentives. TVA, through its participation in the current 20-year contract, has attempted to allow the customers of EPB to obtain reliable and efficient energy that is fairly priced and at the same time create various incentives that financially benefit the entire customer base of EPB. Further, the council is greatly concerned that because of the current state of affairs at the EPB, Glasgow may have difficulty with economic prospects looking to locate or expand in the South Central Kentucky area. Number 4, time is of the essence. The economic strength and vitality of this community is at stake, and our elected officials must do something to protect and foster economic activity through the creation and retention of jobs within the city. Number 5, for all of the reasons set forth herein, the council looks to the mayor to engage in sound reason and logic to facilitate a positive resolution of the EPB current state of affairs, so adopted this 8th day of February 2021. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, attest, Mona Simmons, City Clerk.
After hearing the resolution, do I have a motion to accept?
I move.
Dale, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
I got a question, Mayor.
Pardon?
Hey, I was hoping that before we vote on this, I think we should look at the joint position letter that's on the minutes for next. That joint position statement on the Glasgow Electric Plant Board from the community. I mean, before we do anything else, I think we should, I don't know the right way to do this, to slow down and read that statement so everybody understands what we're talking about.
You're talking about the economic development and the chamber letter?
Yes, sir. I think it probably should, if it would have been possible, maybe have read that prior to reading the resolution.
Well, the resolution came in first. The letter didn't get here till Friday.
All right.
But I can shed some light. I can't tell you the whole story, but Maureen Carpenter can tell each and every one of you what's been happening for the last 10 days and what culminated this morning to a fix on this whole situation. But you can do what you want to on this resolution, and then we'll explain what I know to be a fact on the letter. And you can also talk to Maureen Carpenter, and she'll back up what I'm fixing to tell you.
Well, can you, before we vote, MD, can you tell us what you're getting ready to tell us, or?
This resolution has no bearing on it at all. You can vote it, or you can vote it up, and you can vote it down, and then I can give you what information's come through Maureen Carpenter, the chairman of the Electric Plant Board, TVA, and everybody else that's been involved in this.
I'm a little confused. If this resolution has to do with the economic good of our community, I would think everything that Ms. Carpenter says is relevant to that discussion. Is it not?
You can read it in right now, but it's part of the discussion if you want to, Chastity. That's fine. I mean, I've read it ahead of time.
No, and what Maureen Carpenter will tell you about this letter, I don't mind giving you that information right now, because I just got the facts this morning on one part of it. But if that's part of the discussion, I'll be glad to tell you. And Maureen Carpenter said that she would answer your questions, or she would come in here to the next meeting and tell you, you know, what had been worked out. If that's what y'all would like, I'll tell you what I know. And another deal, for the last 10 days, we've been talking with Maureen Carpenter. There's a group that has started to show interest in Glasgow, but her talking to TVA, they stated to her about 10 days ago, they did not know if they could give all the benefits with the Electric Plant Board contract, not under jeopardy of not ratifying that contract. And all I could do was ask questions, so I called the chairman of the Electric Plant Board, and I told him what TVA had told Maureen Carpenter. And at that point, he said, we're trying to protect the residential customers of Glasgow. However, if the TVA will guarantee her all the tools in their bag to go forward, we will take away the lawsuit, we'll ratify the contract, and we'll try to get down to business as usual. So she in turn called back TVA, and as of this morning, early this morning, I talked to her late yesterday afternoon, and they hadn't got back to her. They guaranteed her, and that's the reason that she's talking to them, and not the Electric Plant Board, or not me, or nobody else. They guaranteed her that they would help with economic development all the way, everything possible for this community if that was done at the next Electric Plant Board meeting. And the chairman told me that I could tell Maureen Carpenter that they would drop the lawsuit and they would go ahead and ratify that contract and try to get back to business without all the negativity and everything going on. So that's what's been told to me by everybody that's a player in this game.
Hey, Mayor, just a point. I'm sure everybody got the same letter from the chairman of the Electric Plant Board this morning. And the last sentence of the letter stated that if we as a city council wanted the board at the EPB to stand down, he would. But also within the body of that letter, it was kind of going back and forth, you know, whether that was it or not. I mean, for me, I could go on for a long time, as we all could, but I mean, I would like something in writing from the chairman stating that to the city council. Is that possible?
I don't think so, because we can't be into it that way. I mean, you know, just few saying, well, y'all do this, but that's the reason TVA wouldn't tell anybody except Maureen. You're welcome to contact Maureen and go from there. This thing here, we cannot do any good other than the negotiations that's been done. And I mean, I didn't get the letter that you're talking about. Someone sent me this afternoon something that was on Facebook, which said it was addressed to all you all. So I don't know what that is, and I don't know what was stated. I just know that right now, we're the closest we've been in 6 years to getting this community back together. And if all the negativity would go away, the 23rd or whatever, a week from tomorrow, 2 weeks from tomorrow is, we've been fooling with this for 4.5 years. I don't know why everybody can't get off everybody's case and try to get this thing done. Because if it hadn't been for Maureen Carpenter, this thing would go on for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
My concern, and I'm say this only for myself, no other councilman, you know, the chairman has not acted in good faith, in my opinion.
Well,
and I think the only recourse that we have to keep people from going left or right, and there's been plenty of wrong to go around. I'm not blaming it all on one person, but aren't we, and I'd ask you this, Mayor or Danny, either one, aren't we the only governing board when someone has, and you would have to prove misfeasance, malfeasance, neglect. Aren't we the gatekeeper to people on boards that we put on there when they have fallen into one of those categories?
We are on most boards. That one down there is a lot more red tape than any other one we have because of the little TVA Act.
I get that, but is not the way to remove a member, and I'm asking this maybe to you, Danny, or Mayor, either one, isn't the only way that the city has to protect a rogue board member, whether it's somebody I like or somebody I don't like, isn't the only line of defense for our community the city council if we've proven that they have caused misfeasance, malfeasance, neglect of duty, or there's three or four of them. Aren't we the gatekeepers of that?
I think that's correct, and that was what we discussed a year ago about this time when we had the closed sessions. If you recall, we had the support of the Kentucky League of Cities to remove 2 of the board members because of false statements that had been put out in a podcast. You raised the issue of removing another one and requested that I submit that to Kentucky League of Cities to see if they would support the removal of that one also. And I think you recall they denied support for the removal of that one because the grounds that you had submitted in your brief, they deemed was not sufficient for removal, and they wouldn't support that. Now,
okay.
The things you're saying are true, but when you get to the mechanics of doing it, which, as you're aware, I've been closely involved with now for 4 years, even before I was city attorney, it's not something that you can enter into lightly because, as you recall, at that time we made sort of an agreement that was in closed session that I can't mention here in terms of how we would proceed in the future. When you embark upon that trip, it gets to be a rough trip, and it can be quite expensive because, as you recall, the Kentucky League of Cities wasn't willing to back us on the financial aspect of the one you're talking about, and they also weren't willing to back us up on any judgment that might be against us if we were later sued and lost a civil case. So yes, you are right in terms of what we can do. The big question is that something that you want to do? And if as a council you decide you want to do that, you certainly can.
Well, let me ask you a question, Danny, because, and I agree with where we're going with that. And I agree we could spend a whole lot of money. We've already spent, my understanding is, $80,000 to $85,000 worth of legal bills prior to the first of the year, prior to even engaging this new Frost, Brown, and Todd. I mean, we could have literally another $100,000 that we have to pay.
I'm saying the city has not spent that money.
Who?
The city has not spent $80,000.
No, the electric plant board. That's what we're talking about.
Electric plant board, the electric plant board is that board. That's not the city council or the city.
Okay, all right. Let me rephrase. The electric plant board, that goes to the ratepayers. Exactly. So we, the citizens of the community, let me rephrase it that way. But Danny, I understand exactly what you're saying about it. But here's my question to you as a lawyer.
As a council,
there is already a judgment.
You don't have the right to micromanage the electric plant board, and you should refrain from trying to manage what the plant board's doing, because statutorily, all you can do is either appoint and remove. And
I got it. Okay. Let me back up, and I'll retract what I said about the dollar amount. There is already a judgment against the chairman of the electric plant board. He's already been tried and found guilty in a court of law. So we as city council, what are we to do with that? If we allow that to go on when there's already been a court judgment against that person?
This is not your social media. Better make sure you're stating the fact when you say anything you say in this meeting, because I'm not going to let this turn into a romper room because somebody wants to show a power play. If you all are not satisfied with us getting the things fixed at the electric plant board and accommodating Maureen Carpenter, then you're not for economic development. You got something else in mind. But
that's a bold statement coming from you, MD. You know, I mean, nobody's trying to do anything other than make this community better. But I will get you a copy of the judgment. I'll get a copy to the whole city council on the judgment, and we'll find out whether he's been held in contempt or not.
He was held in contempt, but that wasn't because he did something wrong. It was because he let information out that he shouldn't have spoke on at that given time, just like when you let out the information in our closed session. But we didn't get you in contempt.
Okay.
It's a two-edged sword, Patrick. We need
Mayor,
to fix these things instead of arguing all the time.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
could we get back to the positive statement in the resolution? Could we get back to the economic development, all that group of people, the business people, and that positive thing they're saying? Can we get back to the positive thing that Mrs. Carpenter's done and that some of the others have been working on? I think that's the positive thing we need to think on right now.
Tickle me to death if we could just get in a positive mood. I thought this was a positive answer.
It is. It is. It is.
And that's the reason. There's so many things that we cannot say in public or in a meeting like this that has to do with our economic development. But I can say with what she told me I could say, which was she has been guaranteed that TVA will work with us to the furthest extent of their ability, and they will start today, but with the understanding that what's been guaranteed is going to happen in the 23rd or whatever, 2 weeks from tomorrow is. I think it's the 23rd.
We appreciate her work, and we appreciate all the business people that have been calling us, expressing this positive move, and we thank all of them.
I have to say, I don't agree with statements in number 1 and number 2, but I do agree with number 3, and I agree with the spirit of this. So I think, I would be for it because I believe we do need to go ahead and do a 20-year. I appreciate the chairman trying to watch out for us, and I understand his logic in thinking that 5-year agreements were better and the other one was signed without knowledge of the entire board. But I agree it's best just to go ahead and do a 20-year, and let's put it all behind us and reap the benefits of a good TVA relationship.
Mayor, I just got can Mr. Witcher, he's our EPB board representative, can he comment, or does he have anything to say? Because I think a lot of this should be he's our voice on that board, so we should hear from him.
I will report to you after the 23rd what's going on.
Okay, Marlon, I guess I have an indirect question. Is that on January 26th, you were more than willing to vote to enter into this lawsuit, and your actions and the board's actions, not just yours, have seemed to set off a domino effect in the community that has not only had an impact on businesses that are here now, but potential businesses 5 years, 10 years down the road. If this resolution passes tonight, are you willing to change your stance on the relationship with TVA?
I will do anything that would be the betterment of the community. And I think all 5 board members will be the same way.
And do you feel that this is for the betterment of the community to take the suggestion of the chamber, to take the recommendation of the economic board, to take the recommendation of Maureen Carpenter?
What Maureen that's her job, so we need to back her.
So Marlon, let me ask you a question. Why did you feel the need a few weeks ago to enter into a lawsuit, and today you feel the need not to? Or I'm assuming y'all are going to drop the lawsuit. I'm assuming that's one of the provisions. I can't remember what was read.
I'm sure it'll be on the agenda. I'm sure it will be.
Well, I mean, are you unwilling or just unable to express? I mean, I have no problem being right or wrong and telling you exactly why I vote. I mean, are you just unwilling, or are you unable to express to the city council? I thought that was our agreement. You would come back and you would report what happened at the previous meeting, not so much forecasting what's going on in the next meeting or the one after that.
I didn't know you wanted me to report after each meeting.
Well, that was our agreement when you got voted in. We can pull up the minutes if we need to, but that was the agreement. And I think if you represent us on the city council, Marlon, you should come back. If we got questions, you're representing us. We should have the right to ask you why you felt the need to enter into a lawsuit.
Because I didn't think we needed a 20-year agreement.
Okay. So, and now you've had light shed on it that you think we do.
And some things come up that's different.
Ask each and every one of them to get rid of that lawsuit. I don't think if economic development hadn't said they were going to be hampered, I don't think this issue would have changed. That's my opinion.
Okay. Even though Maureen's been to the city council, twice, begging us to step back from it?
No, she's been here one time, and she didn't say it for us to stand down. She made the comment she did not want to see the city electric plant board to do away with TVA. That contract is not doing away with TVA. It's just trying to shorten the contract. And you know all this. You put it all on Facebook for everybody to read. So you know. Hey, I don't know why you're asking again, but that's.
Hey, if we're not allowed to ask questions, then just have your meeting and read it and shut the door. I thought this was an open city council meeting that you can ask questions at. Is that directive changed or?
Yes, it's changed when you make a statement, not ask a question. You can talk all night if the rest of them want to sit here, but we're going over the same thing over and over.
Right.
Listen, excuse me, hang on just a minute, you two. This is almost as bad as watching the EPB board meetings. This is businesses watching us behave like this. I think we need to just step up and say, I think the EPB board was wrong. We say the resolution, you're not looking out for the best interest of this community instead of fighting with each other, because we're no better than they are if this is how we're going to act.
All right, is the discussion over with then?
I might ask for a resolution from the elected plant board to the city council.
Anything else? I have a motion to accept, well, we already have a first and a second on the resolution, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Everybody in favor of this resolution?
Excuse me, can we have a roll call vote so that we all have to speak where we stand? And I think we lost a council member.
Sure.
Where's Byron?
I don't know. Everybody, we're gonna have a roll call vote, and we're voting on to accept this resolution as read by the city attorney.
Norris,
Who?
Freddie Norris.
Yes.
Trigg,
Yes.
Richard,
Who?
you,
Oh, yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lowry,
Yes.
Kirkpatrick, Kirkpatrick,
You're muted.
I have no earthly idea what is going on. My internet crashed and I just now was able to get back on.
We're voting to accept the resolution as
the resolution
about the council stand versus the electric plant board. We're voting to accept that resolution or not to accept it. You understand? Arna, can you hear? We'll skip over to Patrick and we'll come back to her if you can hear us.
Benil,
Yes.
Gaunt,
Yes, ma'am.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Patrick, how do you vote? Yes or no? You vote yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
please
saw.
verbally say it.
Verbally say it, yes or no?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Resolution is heard and you all have the letter. Of course, we've already went into it, but if you like, city attorney.
I would like that letter. I would like that to be read for the public consumption. I think they have a right to hear from the chamber.
In the packet. Yes, go ahead, read it.
Sorry, Danny.
No problem, it's not that long. This is a statement on Glasgow Electric plant. And to put it in perspective, let me tell you, before I started, signed by David Peterson, the chairman of the Marion County Economic Authority, and Treva Shirley, President of the Glasgow Barron County Chamber of Commerce. Okay. I wanted to let you know that that's the source of the material that's in this document. Position statement: the Barron County Economic Authority and the Glasgow Barron County Chamber of Commerce are dedicated to supporting local business and industry and increasing economic prosperity for the community. From this perspective, on behalf of the combined 35 board of directors of the authority and chamber and the 380 chamber members represented, we oppose the actions taken by the Glasgow Electric Plant Board to rescind and cancel the long-term contract with the Tennessee Valley Authority. If canceled, it will negatively impact economic development and local industry. In addition, we oppose any new rate structure that will result in unnecessary and significant increases to our local businesses, educational institutions, and nonprofits. Imposing higher rates on employers will have unintended negative impacts that could result in reduced job numbers, higher prices, and decreased contributions in the community. The boards of directors and chamber members are rightly concerned with the actions of the EPB Board of Directors and the inaction of the City Council to intervene as the oversight authority of the EPB Board of Directors and do what must be done to bring resolution to these issues without frivolous lawsuits that are costly, time-consuming, and are without sufficient merit to win. Position platform: negative impact on economic development. By canceling the contract with TVA, Glasgow will lose the top-ranked public utility in the U.S. TVA's reliability, services, and programs make them a vital partner in economic development and provide a strong competitive advantage. TVA's economic development team provides lead generation, technical assistance, online research services, training and development, community development programs, and grant funding. All these resources for economic development will be lost if the contract is canceled, costing thousands of dollars to replace on a per-cost basis. The litigation, likely to stretch out over months or years, will create even more uncertainty and weaken the city as an attractive location for new job creation. Negative impact on local business and industry. Businesses currently located in Glasgow employing our citizens that are receiving TVA incentives will lose their benefits. This includes energy credits and deposit securities costing them insurmountable dollars in higher rates and fees. Higher utility bills mean that in order to remain competitive, local companies will end up employing fewer workers, cutting benefits, shifting employment to lower cost markets, or raising prices, hurting existing employees and customers. Employers trying to estimate their overhead or forecast supply chain costs will find it difficult to make sound choices when deciding when and where to grow, as employers will scramble to respond to this sudden change. Call to action. On behalf of the business and industry, we're calling on the City Council members to intervene with the Glasgow Electric Plant Board of Directors and the Glasgow EPB Board of Directors to resolve these issues in a manner that will result in stability and sound judgment when it comes to the electric power supply for the businesses that support the local economy now and for generations to come. Signed, David Peterson, Chairman, Barron County Economic Authority. Treva Shirley, President, Glasgow Barron County Chamber of Commerce.
So can I ask a question, Danny or the mayor? This goes along with the resolution that just passed that was calling on the mayor or us or the Electric Plant Board to stand down from the TVA lawsuit. My understanding by reading that letter is they don't want to adversely affect the local existing businesses by trying to change the rate structure. So is that what we can go tell the local businesses that we've talked to? Is that the plan? Or just, Mayor, if you could outline 2 or 3 bullet points that you're going to be talking to the chairman of the EPB along with Ms. Carpenter. I mean, is it step away from the lawsuit and step away from the pricing to add more to local businesses, or can somebody give me clarity on that?
Continuing right down the road. She's been on the phone with TVA at least twice in the last 10 days. But basically what she told me was they have agreed to make everything working to the best of their ability. Way it was stated, they would pull all the tools out of their tool bag to help Glasgow economic advancement overall, completely existing and future employers to Glasgow. But you're welcome to call her on that. I did say that exact same thing to the chairman, and all he could tell me is it's going to all be dropped and straightened out per her wishes.
Okay.
So, and the only thing he brought up to me was this really doesn't have any matter, but it's part of the getting back together and trying to work with everybody. His thinking was the only reason he filed the lawsuit was because of the contract being 20 years. If he didn't do that, then we had no debating or no negotiation powers like Maureen has had for the last 10 days. That being the idea of it, he was trying to represent the residential customer. Now, whether or not we go back to the 20 years and the residential customers are suffering and economic development is good, then that's not a total loss, because if economic development is good, we're going to have extra money coming in from payroll taxes. We can set up a homestead surplus or a homestead fund for people that's 75 years or older. They've been to elected plant board for 30 years. They can't pay their bills. I mean, if we're taking in $2.something million more a year, 5 years from now, then we can subsidize their electric bills so they won't be out in the cold like some people thought they were going to be with this 20-year contract. So I think it's not a loss. It's basically, it's been a lot of turmoil, but it's a gain at this point right now.
Right. And I agree. And I commend the EPB for, I think it was $80,000 they gave to community relief for the people that, as you stated, have been suffering, as I understand.
That's part of the monies that was given back for signing 20-year contract.
Right.
It'd be a good reminder for all of us to use the Roundup program on our bill too, which collects a lot of money, just a few cents, a quarter or so extra to round up to the next dollar on our bill, and that goes to the community relief too. That's a good thing.
It's all a good thing as far as weighing the good against the bad. The main thing is get unity and get the public, get their emails from lightening up. And would you like to say a few things?
I would just like to make a couple of comments now to keep things in perspective. It appears, and I think that we can rely on this, that the board has indicated their inclination to drop the lawsuit and to validate the 20-year contract and stop their opposition to it. Now, I want to emphasize to you, they're doing that because it's their opinion based on information with Maureen that that's the right thing to do. It's not because we are influencing them to do that. We don't have that power. And the request that's made in the letter, and in Patrick's question, which went to some very important issues, and it's a good point for him to raise, but those are things that that board has to do and not things that we can try to force on that board. And I'm just trying to keep that in perspective from a legal standpoint. What they do is their business, and I certainly approve myself of them releasing the lawsuit and going with the 20-year contract in light of how it might affect their economic development. So I just wanted to put that in perspective in terms of what we can try to do and where those decisions have to be made by that board. But it looks like they're on board to make those decisions from what I see.
Danny, I got to just this is more for Terry. Terry, you're our Economic Development Board member, right?
That's correct.
Yes, and you vote forward this resolution, or, you know, part of this conversation that we're having. Does it meet what you're looking for? And do you or your body, does it have any intention of, say, maybe attending the electric plant board meeting? So that, again, it takes all of this burden from the council toward the board, toward, you know, because we don't have no say.
First of all, Councilman Trigg, respectfully to your question to other council members, I can't speak on behalf of the Berrien County Economic Authority. So any comment that I make obviously is my comment solely. I do represent this council in the city, being a member of that. In the spirit of the Berrien County Economic Authority, obviously, and the mission is to promote economic activity in our community at all different levels. So whether we're looking at an existing business or a business coming to our community, so their location or their expansion is very, very important in our community. Now, to talk to you a little bit about what we're the resolution allows for us to time to work through the various matters. And as Mayor Armstrong has made some comments tonight, us working with Mayor Armstrong, of course, us working with the Glasgow Electric Plant Board, and working among ourselves as legislative body, we've got to have confidence and trust in each other that we can move this forward. So that's my belief through the resolution that we can do that. And as a general statement of my participation with the Economic Authority, you know, our goal, as you read through the purpose and the objectives and everything that economic development is a part of in our community, from our existing industry to come here, how important the value is of jobs in our community. And about a little bit over a year ago, we had a discussion with a joint meeting with the Berrien County Fiscal Court and talked about the ability of dollars to turn over many, many times, and how, you know, a job here has an impact multiple times in our community as we talk about the multiplier effect on that.
Yeah, of course, multiplier.
I think through the actions of this council tonight and the expressed wishes from our industry representatives and from comments made through the mayor's office, that we can get this behind us and everybody move forward in our community.
Thank you all for the discussion, and thank you all for your questions. Maybe from this point forward, we won't be quite so spirited in our discussions, because I think it'll be better if we're not. So, but having heard all the business before us tonight, I look forward to till 2 weeks from tomorrow night, and all this becomes common knowledge, and there'll be a lot of things in the press, I'm sure. So it'll answer any other questions we may have. But I'm just glad that Maureen Carpenter, I have to give her and that board over there for stepping up and saying, hey, this is what we need from the TVA, and our board of directors down there, chairman, saying, if that's for the better of the community, and if they'll do that, then we'll do our part. So,
Mayor, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Time, I think, is always of the essence, and I know that we can make no action for that board or recommendations, but is it necessary for them to wait until the end of February to take action on this? And we see what's happened in the last 10 days with the commotion that it's caused. Is it possible that they could call a special called meeting? Because I know they can do that.
I think that with what's been happening in the last 10 days is overwhelming, better than what we've had in the last 4 years. We're not at liberty to ask them to do that.
Right.
I can call and ask if they'd be willing to do it. And if they say, yes, we would, then I'll be glad to see if they would. I can't say, hey, we want you to have your meeting.
Right.
I'll be glad to call the chairman tomorrow morning. I got to give him a message from Marie Carpenter anyway.
And I know it takes at least 2 of them to do that, so hopefully there might be somebody else who would be willing to do that. You know, we're not asking, we're just out there in the universe.
ask what the possibilities of that would be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mayor, you said earlier that if we have people that would want to serve, just submit those names to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And as long as there's not somebody that's shown a negative impact on that organization, or a positive impact in a big way, I'll be glad. I have some names now, but we want calm down there. We want healing, and we want people to do business. But yes, I'll take names from any of you that would have people that would say they would serve, and we'll look at it. And if I see that they're a calming person or don't have any set goals and what they want to do other than do the right thing by the community, I would definitely look at it.
Okay. And I would agree with what Councilman Lowry said. We can't make them do anything, but sooner the better that we could show that, hey, we're dropping the lawsuit and we're moving forward to support our industry. I think the sooner the better, if that's feasible.
Well, what industry is locked in now or looking here, this is not going to affect them at all. We're looking at 2, 3, 4 months down the road, people who are starting to look at Glasgow. But yeah, I'll agree, the sooner the better. If they can see their way, it would be good. And if they can't, and at least we know we've worked this far. And I'm glad that we've got to this point. It'll be a lot of weight on people's shoulders.
Yeah, and Mayor, I'm glad for the people coming, but a lot of people that are already here, existing businesses, they are just as nervous and just as concerned as the new industries. And that's kind of where I was coming from with that. The sooner the better.
Some of them are, but the ones that are, there's only 2 that's got more than a 10-year contract with grants, but that's here and there. 2 is a lot. So we just need to make sure that we take care of everybody here and try to get more here to accommodate. That's what I think the goal of everybody is. So that's what we're going to do. I have some announcements. President's Day, holiday closing notice. City Hall will be closed Monday the 15th. Public Works, Sanitation, Transit, Stormwater, Landfill will all be closed that Monday, February 15th. Monday's garbage and the recycling will be collected on Tuesday the 16th. As usual, have your curbside garbage and your recycling bin out by 7 a.m. Our next council meeting is Monday, February the 22nd at 7 p.m. and it too will be a Zoom, and it'll be viewed live on EPB Channel 6, and of course we'll be here as usual. And
can I ask you one last question? When do you foresee us going back to in-person meetings now that the schools are going back and the CDC says it's, we should be able to socially distance in that room? Is there a reason not to, or
I would love to be back. The only thing is any government entity, they're asking you to work from home if you can, and we check from time to time. If it's where they say we can have, as long as we have no more than 12 people in this room, counting the media, well, we can spread out like we were doing before and get everybody in here. And we'll check again this week and see if there's been any changes. What I've been hearing is once the vaccinations are more handily available and that our positivity rate for the state drops, then more of these things will be expanded to a larger group. But I'd rather be safe than sorry, because we've had more deaths since Friday than we've had any 30 days in Barron County, with 6 today. And that was from Friday to today. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we just need to be safe and have everybody around us safe. But as soon as we can get back to in-person meetings, I think that'd be great. This is a lot of hassle, but we're working through it. So one other thing we're going to have to change our ordinance on our committees. Now that we're down to 9 councilmen, we have a lot of committees that have 5 city councilmen on, and that's a majority of the council, so we cannot do that anymore. We're gonna have to write an ordinance that limits it to 4. So you that are on 5 or 6 committees, you will be coming off a couple of your committees, and you that are on 2 or 3 or 4, this is more important with only 9 people, please make your committee meetings, because if you don't go, the people who do show up and then we don't have a quorum, they have to come back another day. So everybody, please try to attend your meetings, and we're going to bring that ordinance at our next meeting, and along with the committee assignments. And Terry, your committee, strategic planning, is one of the first ones that's going to have to get down to 4 city councilmen. And infrastructure is 1, Parks and Recs is 1, and I think there's 1 more. Oh, finance. So we're going to have to work on those in the next couple of weeks, because we're going to have that in place before March 1st when we do our Zoom for all the ethics and that we've got to do through the state and all that. Y'all need to make sure and mark your calendar, because if one of you can't be there, it throws everything in a quandary, because we have to have 100% participation on that. So that'll be coming in our next meeting. We'll give you that date. It's March the 1st. March
It's at 6 p.m.
March the 1st at 6 p.m.
They have received the link via email, and they've received 2 emails. They are also going to receive a packet with all the information. And so everything.
Is everybody hearing that? Is
No.
everybody hearing that? What she said was, here, speak up, about this March 1st meeting. That's the one through the ethics that we have to do for the city.
Okay, it's a certification of ethics for elected officials and the members of the Code of Ethics Board, which is 3. It is mandatory. There is no makeup date at this time. So if you miss it, I do not know how to get you another class. Therefore, our city could not be certified. So it is extremely important that you make this meeting. I have already printed 1 portion of the packet, which is the unedited version from KLC as to their recommendation as to what the ethics ordinance should include. We have went through and edited and tried to make it adapt to Glasgow. There are a few things in there that are really geared toward a larger city, but not toward small towns. So we have adjusted those. You can also compare with the color copy, which is the KOC version, versus the black and white copy, which will be the City of Glasgow version. Now, we are going to go over that. You'll be able to see with KOC what she teaches, which is KOC. She is going to teach the class. She says to estimate 90 minutes to 2 hours for the class. Of course, it is via remote, so you can sit at home in your living room and take the class. We will not bring the ordinance before the council until after the class. The reason for that is so that if you see anything you want to add or take away, we can do that before we bring it to council. So it is just very important that everyone please attend this remote meeting. Thank you.
Is there any other announcements? Hearing none.
Hey, Dee, can I ask one last question? And I promise it's the last one. On these committees, if I've had people locally that's not on the city council would like to serve, is there a reason that they couldn't, kind of like the electric plant board or the water company? Is there, like the rec department, if somebody wanted to serve, does it have to be a city council or can it be a local person?
That is a council member committee. There are some committees that are like codes and electric plant board, water company. There's a lot of committees that we have some input to. We have a member on there from the council. But any committee that is a city committee and not a board has to be city council.
Okay, thank you.
Any other announcements? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to go.
Motion. Now.
Brady, and I have a second from Marvin. We are dismissed. Thank you all again for all the input and all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, who was the second one? Norris?